Thank you for letting me speak with you today. Many of you are studying postgraduately, you're getting your PhD, you're likely going to be in some realm of technology or business, and that's where the Lord has led me. He's led me to a place where I can fully surrender like you're being challenged to do today and be in the business world. I'd like to tell you 3 short stories, and they're around 3 themes: listen, obey, and rest. Listen, when I sat in 2005 in a Starbucks with a potential mentor of mine, I had a whole packet about my life and my vision and where I was going. And I spoke for probably 20 minutes to this man about all the great things I was going to do for God. And he listened, and then he went, "You make me tired." And that kind of took me aback, and I said, "Okay." He said, "Let's meet again next week, and I want you to read John 15, and I want you to come back and tell me what you think the word abide means." Abide. It means to be connected. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be given to you. The branch merely connects to the trunk. All we have to do is connect. And so my first challenge to you is to listen. In your business life, listen. How do we listen? First, we have to shut up. It's difficult to listen to God when you talk all the time, when I talk all the time. We're men and women of activity. He wants us to be human beings, not human doings. And so let's try that. For 15 seconds here, just sit in silence and listen. Perhaps 15 seconds of silence troubled you. Perhaps 15 seconds of silence challenged you. What if it were 2 minutes? What if it were 2 minutes 3 or 4 times a day? What if it was an hour once a week? Cultivate solitude and silence so you can hear. Because the next thing is to obey. Like we talked about just a few moments ago, obedience takes risk. My second story, I sat with my father in a burger joint, and he was looking at me as I was an employee at a company, and he said, "You know, there's a parable of the talents. There's 3 men, they were given talents by their master. One was given 1, one was given 2, and one was given 5. It's not working. One was given 1 talent, one was given 2 talents, and another was given 5 talents. The man with 1 talent buried it in the sand because he was afraid. The man with 2 talents came up with 4 when the master came back. The man with 5 talents came back with 10 when the master came back. The master was proud of the 5-talent man and the 2-talent man. He was ashamed and cast the wicked servant out who had buried the 1 talent in the sand. And my father asked me, he said, "You're a successful engineer, but you could have so much more. How will you know how many talents the Lord has given you unless you're willing to risk?" That plagued me. I went home to my wife. I told her the story. She goes, "Right, that's why I married you." She didn't let me off the hook. And so we started Valentium, and it's continued to grow, and it's grown with a desire from the beginning that it might be a servant as a company for his kingdom purposes and his glory. But it took risk. It took risk. And then the third is to rest. If you're willing to be pursuing solitude and silence and listen, and then you're willing to risk and obey and respond, you can trust him. He is for you. This last story comes from this year. In August, our company's been going through some troubling times because the price of oil has dropped $75 a barrel. And a lot of our work is in oil and gas, and the rest of our work is in medical devices. And I was in the Seattle area working in medical devices, and the Lord woke me up at 4:30 in the morning because that's 6:30 in Houston, and I struggled to get back to sleep and couldn't. And I finally said, well, fine, I'll just get up and go on into our customer. And I drove by the same church I'd driven by every day on the way to that customer. It's the Evergreen Church in Bothell, Washington. And as I was passing that church, I saw men walking in at 5:25 in the morning. And the Lord said to me, and when I say he said to me, I had an impression. And he said to me, "You need to go into that building." And I said, "No." I don't know those people. I don't know that church. I barely know this area. And I drove on to the customer. But then I thought to myself, I've been working hard to listen and to obey, and I'm sensing that you're telling me something. I circled the customer. I drove back to that building.
I got out of the car and I walked in and I said, "Is this for anyone?" And the man was like, "Yeah, absolutely. It's a men's prayer breakfast." And there were 45 men standing and praising God while their pastor encouraged them to read Isaiah 60 and Isaiah 62 and respond to him in prayer from those verses. And if you read those two chapters, it's all about how the Lord says, "I have not forgotten you, Jerusalem. You are mine. I love you." And what message did I need that day in the path of leading a company that is struggling? As I needed to hear, "I have not forgotten you. You're mine. I love you." So as we listen and as we obey, we can rest in his provision. And so as we challenge you now, let me encourage you strongly to take the time here to listen, to obey, and to rest.